Hello, welcome to Pop Along RC. I'm Mark and you are Carl, aren't you,
I am Carl, last time I checked. Now, for those of you out there that have just got yourself a brand new RC car for Christmas, you've probably maybe even taken it out already. What we thought we'd do, because we've got a bit of experience with RC cars, we've been doing it a while, is give you a little rundown of some of the things you need to keep an eye on with your RC cars so they last a little bit longer and you have a little bit more fun.
Good idea. There is one thing I'd like to say though.
Go on then.
Right, because you have the likes of, you've got the wonderful Kevin Talbot on here, amongst other bashers who like to send these things sky high. The first thing I would recommend, and maybe they're not going to like what I'm going to say, but if you take these to a skate park or a BMX track, you are probably going to break it.
So something you really need to be aware of is when you are running RC cars, they are designed for you to have a bit of fun with, but the harder you push them, the more likely they are to break. Therefore, you need to be expected to do a bit of car maintenance along the way.
Absolutely right, Carl.
So, hopefully you have gone down to your local model shop to get your RC car, in which case they will be able to support you and help you if you have any issues with your car. That is the big perk when it comes to ordering local, that you've got that support. If you've ordered online, it's a little bit harder to get the support, but hopefully some of our videos will help you along the way.
I think the first thing you should do is research the car you're going to get. These are both FTX cars and the spares are to a penny. In other words, you can get them pretty much anywhere. So
Anywhere.
They're a good car to start with.
FTX is a brand in the UK that's distributed by CML, and it goes out to pretty much every model shop in the UK.
Indeed. Right, anyway, so aside to where to run it, which we've kind of glossed over a little bit, you probably want to go somewhere relatively flat. Start off with some minor jumps, Don't
And
get
do you know
too,
what?
too
For a
low.
beginner, what kills more cars than anything else?
What's that?
A curb.
A curb. Oh yeah.
A curb is as good as a brick wall to these things because it sits about the same height as the car, and it's literally.
You know all about that, don't you?
Yes, I do. I've broken a few cars into curbs in the past. So finding an appropriate space to play with your car is ideal. Now, if you've got a car like this one, it's got decent sized wheels, you can get away with running this on grass. Something like the Tracer, however, in the winter, that's really going to struggle on the grass, isn't it?
Yep. Well, especially in the UK, because actually in the summer they don't tend to cut the fields until midsummer. Really, that's weird round here, but
it was.
It's what it is. But if you run it in long grass, you'll burn the motor out anyway. So don't do that.
So talking about motors, you've got two different types of motors you could get. We've got cheap brushed motors, which they're cheap to replace, but they wear out quite quickly and they can get very hot, especially if you're running in long grass. On the other side, you've got brushless motors, a little bit more expensive. Again, they can get hot when they run, but they run a lot faster.
I don't think I've ever had a brushless motor burn out on me. In
No.
fact, I haven't. Brushed motors, loads.
Then we have also got batteries. What are the battery options we got? Mainly.
Well, you've got NIMs, haven't you? But NIMs are it's old technology, to be quite, as are brushed motors. So, LiPos, lithium polymer batteries, simple as that. With this car, the good thing about that is it actually comes with a LiPo sack, which you need to charge it in.
So, lithium batteries, you need to keep an eye on those when you're charging, and charge them at a safe rate, and always store them in a LiPo safe bag. On that though, if you do get a upgraded charger, it can halve the charging time for the batteries compared to the ones that you get with most of the ready run kits.
Yeah, I think most people, when they get one of these cars, the first thing they do is they go out and get a decent charger.
And a second battery.
And a second battery. The best... there's been a few problems with that actually in the past, that people have bought bogus chargers, right, in which they've not been safety tested. So your best way of getting a decent charger is to visit your local model shop, because then you know what you're going to get. If you're going to get one off the internet, choose a decent shop. One like lots of people's local model shops have a good online
presence as well, don't they?
So yeah, do that.
Okay, so we've covered motors, we've covered batteries. The next thing we need to talk about is radio gear. Now, if you are using one of these, it's important that when you go out, get some new batteries in your transmitter, because what you don't want to do is the batteries to start to get a bit low, and you can lose reception between the radio and the car.
Yeah, you do that all the time. That really winds me. And then it bleeps and lets you know, but you just keep it bleeping.
But I'd rather it bleep than in the old days when your batteries ran out in the transmitter and the car just disappeared off.
They tend to just stop these days, unless you've got a
They
nitro
never-
car, in which case it will, if it's not got a safety mechanism or whatever installed on it. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. But you know, if you're going to do some maintenance on your car, what do you need?
Well, these cars come with your little Allen key and a little turn screw in here. However, you can, for quite a reasonable price, pick up tools. Fast Track makes some really good tools. Now, the ones that I recommend, they've got the little set of these, which are really nice. And do you know what? Having something like that, the right tools for the job, just makes it so much easier for you to work on. For the FTX cars, mainly though, it is the 2mm hex.
I think
that
most cars
you need
is
for
really.
most cars.
Yeah.
If you've got a Tamiya, they have JIS screws, so therefore you need a little screwdriver for those. But other than that, you get yourself a couple of tools. It's very helpful. So when you get your RC car, I would recommend, because it's been built in a factory, get your screwdriver, just go round and just double check all the screws, because you don't want to be driving down the road and the wheel fall off, do you?
No, you don't.
You don't. That's quite a simple thing. You could do some very basic maintenance. Now, another thing, a little trick we've learned over the years is if you spray your car with GT85, WD-40 as well, mainly GT85 we use, don't we?
GT85, I think, is the main one. Yeah.
So what we tend to do is we spray all the bearing parts with the GT85, and actually the chemicals in that seem to soften the plastic, which sounds a bit dodgy, but actually when the car crashes, it gives the plastic a little bit of flex. So with our Vantages, which is pretty much the same car as this, we didn't really break anything front end of these cars, did we? Because there was that little bit of flex and give in the plastic. Whereas if you take a car like this out on a really cold day, the plastic is going to be harder and less flexible, and therefore you're more likely to break cars on very cold days.
Absolutely, that's a good little trick that I got told ages ago, and I've broken, well, actually not a great deal on my cars. So there you go. I mean, there are other things you can do, like, you know, top up the shocks with oil. That's perhaps another video in that we can show you. But generally, if you're asking too much out of these cars, and I mentioned it earlier, if you're going to want to jump it 30 foot in the air, 50 foot in it, you know, be prepared to spend some money. It's going to break, innit?
Be realistic. So this car here, I'm looking forward to taking this one out. This is the, as I say, the FTX Carnage brushless, which means it's going to go faster. Has a LiPo battery in there, Dean's connectors. It's going to be super fun. Over here we have another car from FTX, except this one has got a new shell on, because when you're running a car like this you might crack and dent your shell, but they're quite cheap to replace, so you can get a new shell for about, I don't know, 20, 25 pounds, something like that. Anyway, this here again is another FTX car. This car, believe it or not, we've been running this, or my son has been running this for 2 years.
The FTX Banzai.
This is the FTX Banzai. This is a bit like Trigger's broom though, because this has been run by a 9-year-old child for nearly 2 years, and he's hit curbs, he's hit walls, he's hit metal pylons, he's hit posts, and do you know what happens when they do that?
What happens?
Things break.
You want to put them back in the toolbox. Don't lose them.
Don't want to lose my tools.
always
They need to
losing
go back in my
things.
toolbox.
You always lose things.
So in here I have got a little bit of takeaway container, because we always like a takeaway container, and as you can see we have got our FTX spares for the cars. Now there are some parts like the uprights for the wheels, like the front wishbones. These are all things that if you crash your car you are more likely to break, and therefore we have got some spares, so when it does happen we can come in, we can fix the car, we can get it back out on the road. So it's always good to actually, as you start to break things, buy a couple of sets of them so that you can replace them, because you'll get to know what bits go on a car. Obviously if you're driving really fast and hitting things with the front end, there's bits at the front end that you're going to need to replace.
Indeed you do. But you know what? If you're a beginner, you know what, we forgive you if you crash, don't we? You know what I mean?
It's part of the hobby.
You've got to
It's part
start
of the hobby.
somewhere. But hopefully, this has been useful to some of you, and hopefully some of you will go on from bashing to racing. That's what we want to try and do, innit? Get more people into racing, get those families out there, sons and father and daughters and whoever, don't matter, does it? But racing is great fun, and it can be something you can do together as a family, just like you and your son do, and like me and my daughter, although she's moved on to other things, sadly. But what can I do?
I reckon we can get back
I can get back
this year. Let's do it. Let's get a race in this
I
year.
reckon so.
But there you go. So when it comes to breaking things on cars, you have a choice. You can replace it with a like part, i.e. the plastic bit that broke, I can put a plastic bit back on, or you can get into the money pit, which is upgrading, and then you can get the alley bling. And do you know what? There are some very nice bling cars out there.
There certainly are, yeah.
You've got a very nice bling.
The FTX Vantage, yeah. I treated myself, and I made it into a very nice car. But you know what?
I've also got
What?
an FTX Zorro, which I have blinged up to the max, which again, still just as much fun, just looks a little bit nicer. Because some of those upgrades are going to be for aesthetics and how it looks. Some of them are going to be for performance.
Yeah.
But I do recommend that you guys get your hex drivers out, have a play with your car, because taking it apart and rebuilding it is part of the hobby.
It certainly is. So there you go. Hopefully that's been of use to some of you out there who have got these new cars for Christmas. There'll probably be quite a few of those, you know that? Yeah.
There might be.
Yeah. They might be on the internet hunting. How can I fix my car? Well, we just told you. Hey, and that's why we do these videos.
Indeed. If you have got any questions about anything car-wise, do pop it in the description down below, and we will do our best to answer it and help you guys out where we can.
That's it.
Should we have a little tidy up now and go play with our cars?
Come on then. I'll bag you this one.
I'm going to get with this one.
Come on then.